Hey guys, Thomas the Silly Jr. here, aka Mustached. I'm here to review the movie The Snowman. Now, before I officially begin, I know what you might ask, although you probably won't see it in the comments because I never receive comments, but you might just say to yourself, why are you reviewing Justice League? Well, I'll be watching that later on today and reviewing that tomorrow. And another preface note. Yes, I am working on a 100 subscribers special, where I poorly imitate 100 different voices from TV show characters to video game characters and so on and so forth. It's going pretty slow, the editing is going to be a nightmare, and I pray I can get through it quickly enough to have it up soon, but I'm not making any promises. Anyway, getting on to the movie. This movie does feature Michael Fassbender, which he has had an unfortunate set of movies from Assassin's Creed to Alien Covenant, and now The Snowman, which actually came out a while back in October 13th. And I'm only reviewing this now because I'm trying to do a review movie catch-up, and then I'll do Justice League. Anyway, this movie is a pretty poor mystery movie where we follow this guy named Henry, and I only got his name, by the way, like in the middle of the movie. Is this sort of agent guy going about trying to resolve this initial murder case, and as you know, the people actually around town, or I think it's the police, aren't taking him too seriously. Up until more and more murders start happening, and then he starts to take over the case. However, that is not officially how the movie starts. We see this sort of flashback where this kid gets abused, and then we see the parent get abused because the kid was unable to enter some sort of thing or whatever. And the movie's editing, even from the get-go, is pretty piss poor at very best, cutting from current time to the flashbacks pretty inconsistently and without any really transitional parts that really flow together. And there are definitely some scenes where it cuts back and forth between two different scenes, and sometimes one of the scenes will feel completely unnecessary. In fact, a lot of the beginning of this movie feels that way, where there are so many unresolved things and so many unnecessary parts, particularly in the beginning of the movie. A lot of that stuff could have been cut, I think, and you would have not have lost anything. I do understand why the beginning of the movie is there. And at first I was like, this could have been cut out, but then I saw the end and I was like, okay, that at least makes sense. But there are so many other parts that could have easily been cut out, and you would have lost nothing. So anyways, we follow Harry and Detective Lady, because honestly, I do not know her name. I don't even think they say her name. And then his wife, who, by the way, the detective and his wife look very similar, at least from what I can remember, and that made some of the parts of this movie really confusing, because I think in some part of the movie the detective dies, and I almost thought that was his wife, even though later on in the movie the wife gets captured in the son as well. So yeah, he has a son. And the cases that are going about are all about these step figures coming in and taking over, or attempting to take over, and not doing a very good job, and all of these individuals are being killed off, and so far that is the only connection that is being had through all the differing cases that are popping up. So again, the movie does drag, and the acting isn't really that great, and finding the characters isn't really all that interesting. I would say, I would be invested if, things were happening that kind of gripped me. I mean, for all intents and purposes, the whole snowman motif, I guess I'll call it that, isn't even really all that bad. It's just its execution is so poor. It's just like, yeah, you made a snowman face a certain way, whoop-de-doo, like, ooh, you killed someone, like, nearly halfway through the movie, finally, so now we can actually start getting into what's actually going on. And there's like this old detective that we see for a bit, and he's like in and out of the movie for a while. I'm not really sure what he does. Like, there's this whole thing about this flashback that happens with the detective, and it's like that part happens, and then like more stuff happens, where it's like more current timeline. And that was actually kind of confusing because it was like whenever it would pan to him, it wouldn't say like, "Oh, this many years back." So my brain said, okay, so maybe this is actually happening now, maybe? Anyways, I believe he also ends up getting knocked off or killed or something, or rather. And honestly, I don't know if that was a needed character in the movie. I'm not sure. I kind of forgot what his role was. By the way, I'm doing this review without my notes, even though I probably should have, but whatever. It's fine. This movie isn't warranted of notes, I think, honestly. It's not that great. So, all in all, I feel like I kind of wasted a little bit of my time in this movie. And, Michael Fassbender, I think he is a good actor. I just think he's getting really poor work. So, there's that. As for everyone else, none of the actors really again stood out in any way, shape, or form. The story was cut poorly, and that really just drove the mystery under the bus. Like, I didn't even really care who the murderer was at any point in time. There was no point in trying to figure that out, even though there was like one little bit, like one little part where it tries to like go, oh, maybe the main character is the killer, and yeah, I'll give the movie that. It had at least that much going on for it, but other than that, I can't really say this movie has much else going for it. So, I'm gonna give this movie a 3 out of 10. It's not that great, just falls apart at the seams, and that is my review. So if you enjoyed this review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out that link in the description. It'll head you over to my Patreon. I desperately need it more than ever, so if you please feel free to donate anything if you enjoyed this review. And until next time, everyone, bye!